So again, it's extremely important to have, just in case of what the unexpected happens. Hopefully that never occurs, but it does, and unfortunately many people have been left without the things that they had gotten used to in their life. Just having regular, living room furniture gets destroyed or smoked out and it can't be saved. So those are all things that would be covered to an extent, whether they're going to clean it or replace it. Your insurance company would take care of that for you, whereas the apartment community's insurance does not. They're going to take care of the walls, the interior, but they're not going to take care of any of your personal property. So it's very important to get.
All right, and then how about, I'm sure you get calls where people either lose their keys or they lock themselves out of their apartment. There might be a free pass once or twice for that, but is there fees in that if somebody needs to have locks changed or lose keys or things of the
Most companies do have policies in place where if you lose a key, it'll be a certain amount to replace just that key. If you have to change the locks, usually that is a certain dollar amount charge, usually set. So if you give your key to somebody else and suddenly you don't feel comfortable knowing that they have it, and you come to us and say, would you change our locks? The answer is going to be yes, we'll change your locks, but you're going to have to pay for that lock changing under most circumstances, because we did not provide that key to somebody else.
All right. What about, do you get involved at all with sub rentals and that? Any suggestions for people that want to sublet it? Say I have my apartment and I've lived here for 6 months and I have 6 months left, and all of a sudden I get a new job and I'm moving to Florida, and here, a nice warm climate after a cold Wisconsin winter, and I want to sublet my apartment. Was there kind of a procedure or any suggestions as far as how that would
My
go?
suggestion would be, as soon as you know that something has changed and you're going to have to move, is to go talk to your landlord. Talk to them about the policies that they have in place. Are they going to let you sublet? Maybe they're going to want you to maybe they'll work with you to find a new tenant for the unit, which would mean you doing some showings when they're normally not there. It really is going to vary depending on your management company, but it is very important to get that dialogue started with your management company right away.
All right, so I just can't move somebody in and pack my things and go.
No, you can never move in.
Somebody's living there and you don't even know who they are.
Nope, you can never move somebody in randomly without being an issue. You need to have those people fill out an application and get approved. Otherwise, you're still going to be on the hook for the lease.
Okay, and then the same if I'm going to sublet an apartment, I want to make sure that I've signed a lease with the management company so that I'm covered for any type of legalities and responsibilities also, than it just move into somebody's apartment without management knowing.
Yep, you're going to want to make sure that you have an official lease document and that you have an official subletter agreement. And that's all approved. You should also make sure that you know what you're going to be moving into. Frequently when a sublet happens, the previous tenant is the one required to make that unit ready for you, cleaned, painted, and all of that, versus the management company. So you should have all that understood prior to your moving in. So make sure that the cleanliness is going to be taken care of by the time you get there, and that whether that's the management's responsibility or if it's going to be the previous tenant. It's really important to have that known before you move in.
All right, Jim, and then if I do sublet an apartment for 6 months and I've been a wonderful tenant, paid my rent on time, then there's a chance then that the person would be able to renew a lease then for another whole year. So I guess my question is, if I sublet an apartment, say for 6 months, I don't have to expect that at the end of 6 months I'm going to have to pack my bags and move. There's a possibility that if I'm a good tenant, I could stay at the complex if I like where I'm living.
There's definitely that possibility. I would recommend discussing that with the landlord prior to your signing even the sublet agreement. Just knowing that if you want to actually end up being there for a year and a half, and you know that to start off the bat, you should talk to them initially just to see if they've already re-rented it for 6 months down the road or what their policy is.
Okay. And then kind of one of the last questions here, Jim, is I know parking is always a premium at a lot of apartment complexes. And then do some complexes that have underground parking or garages, do most of them, is it included in the rent, or is it a lot of times you got to pay extra for for parking, especially
It's-
in a like a garage or underground parking?
The parking is always going to vary. You're going to want to talk to the complex about that. Frequently, the parking space may be one included within your rent in that underground parking structure, or you might have to pay an additional amount per month to have that spot. Ask those questions before you get when you get to the leasing office, so you know what you're getting.
Okay. And then as far, of course, the other thing I guess is to make sure that when you're looking for an apartment, you make sure you look for one that fits within your budget, because you know, you got to be able to make the rent. And I guess the last thing I thought of too is as far as utilities go, if I am looking in making my budget for my rent and that, does it vary from complex as far as what utilities you may have to pay and the type of utilities they have as far as electric, heat to gas? And
You're going to want to look in the lease, or what the lease holds as to what your responsibility is for utilities. You're going to want to know, is the heat electric? Is it gas? Is it central air? Is it not central air? Do you have a wall mount air conditioner? All of these things are going to take and play into how much you're going to be paying into your budget, you're going to need to put into your budget. You can call MG&E, or Mass and Gas and Electric, or you can go to their website at mge.com and go to their cost finder. And basically you type in the address of the place that you're looking at. They'll give you the high, the low, and the average as to what the previous tenant has paid in that over the last 13 months. And it is a great tool for you. Always go to the source when you can. So go to the utility company and see if you can get a quote as to what that bill will be on average. They can't say exactly what it's going to be, but based on previous use.
that's a really good tip for somebody when you're trying to plan a budget for what your rent's going to cost, and then some of the extras. It's kind of like somebody when they purchase a new home, and then from moving from an apartment to a new home, and all of a sudden you got to buy, garden tools and a snow shovel and a lawnmower, and these are kind of things you don't think of when sometimes when you move into a new home. So, well, Jim, thanks for taking time to talk with me today about apartment complexes, and of course, if people have any questions, like you mentioned, a good resource is the Dane County Tenant Association, and then when you do go see when you're looking for a place to live, make sure you ask a lot of questions when you're talking to the property manager or the rental agent to get all your information before you sign and
review that lease.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Jim for joining us today. He had a lot of great information related to landlord-tenant issues. Again, if you have questions, you can always check the website out for the Dane County Tenant Resource Center. Also, if you're looking to rent an apartment here in Fitchburg, Fitchburg does have an ordinance, a landlord-tenant ordinance. If you check out the city's webpage, and if you go to ordinances, you can find the ordinance for landlord-tenant. It talks about requirements for tenants. It also talks about requirements for landlords. It talks about security deposits. So there's a lot of good information in our ordinance, and I suggest that you take a look at it. If you're a current renter in Fitchburg, if you're looking to rent an apartment in Fitchburg, and also I know the city of Madison also has an ordinance. If you're looking to rent an apartment in the Madison area, you could check that out. And again, also the Dane County Tenant Resource Center would have a lot of good information. So I just again like to thank Jim for all the great information. Don't go away, I'll be back in just a moment.